One of the things about the Todd Herman show is that I am having a problem with divorce, and it's tough. And I didn't want to talk about this in the program, but suddenly God just called me to talk about it. I'm having problems divorcing myself from Barack Obama. I am. Look. Let's admit something about emotional attachments and emotional affairs. They're addictive. Okay. They are. And I have this emotional attachment, this emotional affair I'm having with Barack Obama, and it's been going on for a very, very long time. And I am admitting it now. And I've started to understand that it's a toxic relationship. And I don't think he's that into me. And certainly not as into me as I am to him. So, there's that whole thing, he who cares the least controls the most. And in this case, certainly Obama's been that to me. So what am I babbling about? I'm babbling about the fact that I am still utterly fascinated with Barack Obama's continuing efforts to revitalize his reputation, having lost the last election. Because it was him who was up for re-election. Let's be honest about this. It was him up for re-election, not figurehead Biden, because figurehead Biden never really ran anything, and Barack Obama ran everything. And I bring this up because Obama's continuing not just to try to revive his relation or his reputation, but to change the stakes of the game this late into the game, and to change the nature of what our nation actually is. Our nation is not this democracy he has in his mind. He's continuing to talk about pluralism. Well, he doesn't mean pluralism. He wants to be, on one hand, the great Bono from U2, peacekeeper. Maybe that'll be his new career. After all, he's a huge filmmaker now. Did you know that? Yeah, he's a billionaire filmmaker because he and his wife, Michelle, had a bunch of experience making films that no one else in Hollywood had. So they got contracts no one else in Hollywood could get because they're so fantastic at making films, as their record throughout their life showed. So maybe his new thing is now he'll go join U2 as a backup singer or something. So he could be the peacemaker like Bono. What he said about pluralism and democracy stands in huge and evident comparison, and not a good comparison, to what has been done to people under Barack Obama's, let's say, assistant demon, Joe Biden. And I'll give you this comparison in just a second, and it is an absolutely stark comparison. So is this. I am a guy who's had 2 surgeries late in life. Well, actually 3. I had a sinus surgery, and that couldn't be avoided. I simply couldn't breathe, and you need to be able to breathe. 2 surgeries on 2 shoulders with 2 absolutely different outcomes. Same exact injury, a rotator cuff tear. Same exact thing. Shoulder number 1, the left shoulder, tore while I was bench pressing. Okay, not even a particularly heavy bench press, it just tore. It had been building up for years because of bone spurs in my left shoulder. Bone spurs that eventually just sawed away at the rotator cuff, and I had what's called a 3 out of 3 tear. That shoulder took me 48 weeks, 48 stinking weeks, before I could do a pull-up or a push-up. And I'm a guy who prior to that could fire off 60, 70 vested push-ups nonstop with a 35, 45-pound vest. And one push-up, 48 weeks. My right shoulder, also a 3 out of 3 tear. Now, it did not blow up under a bench press. It was, I discovered all of a sudden I could no longer complete a swimming stroke. Oh, that's weird. And it happened in a lake. It's good to be able to swim when you're in a lake, and discovering you can't swim stroke, that was a little bit disconcerting. Same surgery, same surgeon, same facility. 11 weeks. I got my push-ups and pull-ups back. 11 weeks. And in all likelihoods, I could have done them earlier, like 8 or 9 weeks. What was the difference? One thing. Renew healthcare in Mexico. My friend Ben, I flew down to Mexico a week after my surgery, still in the sling. I got stem cells from umbilical cords and placentas in my arm, 42 million of them in my right arm, my shoulder capsule. Never been exposed to any of the, COVID things, right into my arm. The next morning, the inflammation was so gone, I forgot what shoulder had been operated on. That's the single thing I changed in terms of medical treatment. You can have the same thing. It can even help you avoid surgery. So simply go check him out. You have absolutely nothing to lose by asking the question. Go to Renew, RENUE.healthcare. That's renew.healthcare. And please tell him you're part of the Todd Herman Show family. This is Barack Hussein Obama, with whom I'm having this emotional affair. And Obama is just so distraught over decisions you and I have made because it's harming what he thinks of as our democracy.
Election proved that democracy is pretty far down on people's priority list. Pluralism is not about holding hands and singing Kumbaya. It is not about abandoning your convictions. It is about recognizing that in a democracy, power comes from forging alliances and building coalitions and making room in those coalitions, not only for the woke, but also for the waking.
What I love is the classic Obama lip purse after he delivers his killer line. Not about the woke, but the waking. And he's looking at us like with the disapproving father who wants very much to love you again. So the woke and the waking. Just think about the modern Democrat coalition. How broad has the tent become? You had the president fly illegal immigrants from Colombia, many of whom were violent gang members, cartel leaders. That's where they're starting the deportation efforts. Flew them to Colombia. The socialist president of Colombia said, no, we're not taking them, and turned the plane around. And President Trump called Marco Rubio to Mar-a-Lago. He's in the room, and apparently Trump, I know he posted this to Truth Social, and so do you, that he posted a 25% tariff. Next week, it's going to be 50%. You're taking your criminals back. They came here, they're yours, they're going back. And all of a sudden, the socialist president of Colombia said, gosh, I'm sorry, that was a misunderstanding. We want them here. We'll put them in prison. Thank you so much for sending them back. So Trump releases the tariffs. But in between that moment, you had Democrats saying, you're going to raise the price of our coffee. AOC said, by doing this, you're going to raise the price of our coffee. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Other Democrats in one of those organized, everybody had the same idea. Happy Valentine's Day, your coffee costs are going up. That's how broad the coalition has become. The cartels are part of a coalition. Same thing where you have mayors and police chiefs, like the police chief in Los Angeles, who has pledged, I will protect criminal illegal immigrants. We're not going to let you come and get them in the separate country of Washington. They're creating special housing allowances for so-called refugees. And there's such a thing as refugees. These people aren't refugees. They are, in fact, many of them are violent people. They want special housing areas so they don't have to leave, so they can keep ICE out. This is part of the coalition. They've included in their coalition Satanists and then brought them into the White House. Well, we've got to serve the Satanist lobby. That's pluralism as Obama defines it. God has a different idea of pluralism. What partnership can darkness and light have? And what way can they work together? You're either with me or against me. I would think that siding with cartels who enact violence as policy and harm people as policy, I would think that's darkness. I would think that any decent coalition would not want that partnership. Oh, incidentally, speaking of life, there's a D.C. judge named Colleen Collar Cotelli. This is from the Federalist. And she oversaw the case of a woman named Paulette Harlow, 75 years old, in poor health condition. She was in prison because she prayed outside of an abortion clinic. And her husband begged for mercy because she's 75. Her crime was praying. She didn't block anyone from entering that facility because she's not capable of it, and it's not in her heart. The judge, again, whose name is Colleen Kolar-Cotelli, decided to mock the woman's Christian faith and said, maybe you should make an effort to remain alive because that's a tenet of your religion. Pluralism? Democracy? Judges mocking a woman's faith? Well, and also, of course, mocking Jesus. Now, it's one thing to mock a woman. It's another to mock Jesus, and that's what she's doing. President Trump signed an executive order freeing people like this.
Next, we have a set of pardons for peaceful pro-life protesters who were prosecuted by the Biden administration for exercising their First Amendment rights.
Do you know how many?
I believe it's 23, sir.
23 people were prosecuted. They should not have been prosecuted. Many of them are elderly people. They should not have been prosecuted. This is a great honor to sign this.
Does anyone have a bigger signature? Man, a lot of good things about the president. Still got that massive kind of ego thing. It's a cool looking signature. Give him that. That is actually a cool signature. It's big, but I love that it's in a felt tip pen too. It's a Sharpie.
Because they're all in prison now.
Some are out of custody.
It's ridiculous.
It is. Thank you, Mr. President, for signing that. Democracy. Barack Obama is very, very upset at us for ignoring democracy, where we jail people for some speech, but not for others. And it's not just pro-life people. Of course, the left is up in arms. They're up in arms that J6ers have been released. They're up in arms that anyone who threatened the cop has been released. And look, I get this. I'm torn on this. If you were at J6 and you ended up beating up a cop or decided to, you deserve a bunch of time in jail. We either enforce our laws or we don't. And in J6, I believe it was the job of many of the officers to start trouble. They were in the crowd encouraging people to break the law. They were tossing flashbangs and tear gas into the crowd before the crowd did anything. I think they were trying to encourage that. So I can see both sides there. But what I can't see is leftists pretending to care about cops. Catherine Clark posted, Donald Trump pardoned violent criminals who viciously attacked police officers, and House Republicans are celebrating. She is a minority whip. She's a politician, an office holder. Antifa Watch reminds us, reminder, Catherine Clark's son assaulted police at a riot in support of Antifa gunmen who shot a state trooper in Georgia. Jared Riley Dow didn't get prison time, though. He got probation and had to write a letter apologizing. I don't remember Catherine Clark coming out and saying, our democracy's at risk because of my son. In the eyes of the Lord Jesus, there's neither servant nor master, Greek nor Jew. We're to be all treated equally and seen equally. And in the eyes of the Lord Jesus, I don't know that adopting violent criminals as family members without telling them to change is going to be excused, even if it's Barack Obama's sainted pluralism.